giving an update on the coronavirus situation here in Massachusetts. Let's go ahead and listen.
Protective equipment. We are not alone in that space, and we continue to have a variety of acquisition strategies in place that involve folks here in Massachusetts who have gear that they're not using. We've actually distributed a lot of gear that people weren't using in Massachusetts that they made available to MEMA. Domestic companies that are in the production business, and other companies that are in North America that are in the production business, and we actually have ongoing pursuit of gear as well in other countries outside North America as well. This is and we get some stuff from the stockpile, right? But in the end, my big concern, and I've said this before, is we got a clear message from the federal government and from the White House that we should develop our own supply lines and our own channels, and we work very hard to do that, and like other governors have run into the federal government on a number of occasions when we worked pretty hard to develop a supply line and actually bring PPE, personal protective equipment, here to Massachusetts to serve first responders, emergency personnel, and healthcare providers here. And FEMA has made clear to us that they understand this is an issue and have said they are going to work aggressively to coordinate those activities. And I certainly hope that turns out to be true, because it's a big issue for everybody. Pardon me?
Testing kits to test people that may be tested. I heard recently Congressman Seth is saying that he has full-on coronavirus symptoms, but he can't get a test.
I can't speak to the specifics of any individual. What I can tell you is that when the federal government opened up the criteria and dramatically expanded who was eligible for testing, we implemented that criteria almost immediately, and we've seen, depending upon what day it is, over the last 5 or 6 days, we've seen anywhere from a 200 to 300 to 400% increase in the number of tests that are being done here in the Commonwealth. We have 21 labs that are now processing tests, and our goal, some of you who may remember this, I think it was last Thursday, not yesterday, day before yesterday, but last week, we said our goal was to get to 3,500 a day as quickly as we could, and we were over that number pretty much every day this week by a wide margin. And our goal is going to be to continue to make sure that if you have the criteria under the CDC, which is not an and, it's an or. There are 6 different elements to that criteria. You just need one of them, that people are getting tested.
And there are enough test kits to meet that demand, everyone who meets the criteria?
Honestly, this was an issue I heard about all the time from the healthcare community 2 weeks ago. This week, people, for the most part, I think felt pretty good about the availability of testing capacity, and showed up in the numbers. I mean, the numbers exploded over the course of the last 4 or 5 days. And as I've also said, the goal here is to get to the point where we can turn our capacity to test into a strategic opportunity to both trace and track and isolate, which at the end of the day is really the way countries that have been successful in dealing with this issue have managed to sort of turn the corner on the virus in the first place.
Thanks, guys.
Census to whether this issue in the hospital itself, community spread, people bringing into the facilities, getting ideas?
Well, I think it varies a lot from place to place. What I will say is something that I'm sure many of you have heard me say before, which is one of the reasons we made telehealth a covered benefit in Massachusetts was because it was a good way for patients who had symptoms and clinicians to engage with with one another without actually having to have a face-to-face contact, a close contact. And it's a covered benefit in Massachusetts. Most people, I think, I've said that many times, but I think a lot of people are still figuring this out. The benefit of that as a covered benefit is you don't have to get close contact with a clinician. You don't have to go to a healthcare site to engage in the initial conversation about whether or not, in fact, you have the kind of symptoms that would require actually going to visit a doctor's office or a clinic. The other thing I would say is we also announced yesterday that we now have a pretty sophisticated tool up on our website that you can get to. It's called Buoy, all right, B-U-O-Y. And you can get it at buoy.mass. And it's a company, it's a Massachusetts-based company. They've been around for a long time. And they have been providing self-diagnostic capability to people for the last 5 or 6 years. They spent 3 years building their database around sort of nationally recognized research on symptoms and diagnostics, and they've put millions of people through that database. And as they've done that over time, they've gotten smarter about what the end game associated with a lot of those diagnostics is, and that's something people can do from home. If you've got symptoms of one kind or another, you're concerned about it, you can go to Buoy. You can go to Buoy's website, which is free because we're in partnership with them, and start the process there. And if you determine, based on working through their self-diagnostic tool, that you would like to talk to a clinician, you can go from that site on a telehealth basis to a clinician as well, to continue that process remotely without ever putting you or the clinician that you're dealing with in close personal contact. And I think the more we do that, the more we create tools and opportunities for people to engage with one another, particularly around symptomatic issues and symptoms generally in diagnostics, the more successful we're going to be at flattening the curve and reducing the pace of the spread. Honestly, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about that particular issue lately. I'm not in a position to comment on it.
Thanks, guys.